What is up, my people? Happy to be here with you for Fantasy Football in Focus here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. NFL Week 2 of the 2023-24 season. Always elated to be here with you for all fantasy football content, and I cannot wait to jump into these games. As you know, if you have any questions for us, go ahead and feel free to shoot them over to us on any one of our feeds. We are live on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you're hanging out with us where sports meets life. And like I said, if you have any questions, go ahead and send them to us on any one of these live feeds, and we will answer I'll have the opportunity to answer your question as they come in. So make sure you send them over to us. We're more than happy to help you out and give you all the fantasy football advice that I have here to give. So whatever we can do to help you, that's what I'm here for, and I love doing it. So if you have any thoughts in the fantasy football world, you're setting your lineup, you need some help, make sure you send your questions over to us. You got some injuries that are going on. Maybe you have J.K. Dobbins, right? And something happened with, J.K. Dobbins obviously being injured, or you had Aaron Rodgers and you're trying to look through and find somebody and make that next move that's going to help out your team. We're more than happy to help you with that. So go ahead and send over all your fantasy football questions to me on Facebook.com, YouTube.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com. And we appreciate everybody who has sent in their questions. People have sent in questions to us from all over the country, and I appreciate that so very much. So if you have a fantasy football question or comment, whatever's going on in your fantasy football world, send it over to us. And like I said, we're happy to help you set your fantasy football lineup here today for week 2 of the NFL 2023-24 football season. And as you know, we go into these games in order of Thursday night, then we go Sunday 1 o'clock to the mid-afternoon Sundays to Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football. And so that's how we're going to be going here with the schedule. So if we're talking about Chicago and Tampa Bay, then you would know that Kansas City, Jacksonville is coming up next, just for an example here. So send in your questions and make sure that you click subscribe if you haven't yet. If you're on Facebook, make sure you click follow. And we appreciate everyone here with us in Fantasy Football in Focus, proudly presented by the fantastic team at the Wildcat Sports Pub. The Wildcat Sports Pub, your premier place to watch every single one of the games every single week. The Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Make sure you go and check them out 7 days a week, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus. And for takeout and delivery, you can go and call them at 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222. So let's hop into it. Fantasy Football in Focus, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. Make sure that you send in your questions as we go. First game that we have here is going to be Thursday Night Football. This Thursday, September 14th, Minnesota at Philadelphia at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. That is our game 1 of this week. And it was a wacky week last week. We'll get into it as we go here. Some crazy things going on, including that very interesting game that we saw between first and foremost, when we talk about MetLife, the Giants game against the Cowboys, with the Giants scoring 0 points, was absolutely, to me, unexpected. And then to look at the game between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets, with Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback of the Jets for about a few minutes, maybe 5 minutes on the field, which is really sad to see. So obviously prayers go out to his healthy and speedy recovery, and prayers go out to Zach Wilson as well, as he takes over this team once again. So we'll see what happens here. We're obviously hoping the best for everybody involved. So the first game for us to get into, like I said, Minnesota at Philadelphia. So the Minnesota Vikings here in their game that they had. Now, obviously, for Minnesota, the first name that comes to mind, that should come to mind, is Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson, a fantastic wide receiver. And, the hopes that someone else is going to be able to help out here, right? That there's going to be some type of move in the right direction for maybe rookie Jordan Addison. If going into the season, that's the guy that I'd put my kind of thought in that respect. If I was going to pick somebody to be the next guy, I would say Jordan Addison. So, as we get this set and ready to go here for this season, that really becomes the question of who is going to be the other guy for the Minnesota Vikings. And, with Justin Jefferson doing the work that he's done and being the type of player that he's been, the hope is he'll continue to strive forward. But he obviously gets helped by the fact of somebody else being there that can raise the bar a little bit. Adam Thielen, who I don't think ever really got the respect that he deserves, he was that other guy, right? He was that guy that was there, and now he's no longer there. He's a Carolina Panther now. And so, as happy as I am for him to be able to go out there and eat and do his thing, it's also kind of tough, right, to see that team without Adam Thielen, whether people respected him or not. I feel like you should have, because he did bring something to the table to help out Justin Jefferson. And before that, he worked well with Stephon Diggs. So, looking back on this game for the Minnesota Vikings and what they had this past week, when we take a look at their matchup here, the Minnesota Vikings overall, with Alexander Mattison now being their starting running back, there's been some change, right? And, you would think that this team would have held on to Delvin Cook. It made perfect sense to hold on to Cook and to keep moving, in the direction of success and prosperity with a strong running back and, also having a strong wide receiver in Justin Jefferson. And I'm a little surprised that they let go of Adam Thielen. But when we look back to this loss 20-17 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that happened in week 1 here of the NFL season, by the numbers for the Minnesota Vikings, this team didn't perform the way that obviously people anticipated and hoped for, but Jordan Addison scored the first touchdown of the Minnesota Vikings 2023-24 season. Hopefully that is a good sign for what could come here. Jordan Addison getting in the end zone on a 39-yard pass from Kirk Cousins, and then from there, the other score that we had was Alexander Mattison on a 4-yard pass from Kirk Cousins later on in the game to tie the game at 17-17 before Chase McLaughlin hit a 57-yard field goal with 5:10 remaining to win the game for Tampa Bay 20-17. And like I said, by the numbers going and taking a look at it, in this matchup, Alexander Mattison, 11 carries, 34 yards. Justin Jefferson, despite not having a touchdown, had 150 yards receiving. He almost outdid the entire Tampa Bay receiving core, which had 173 yards on 21 catches. He had 150 yards on 9 catches. Jordan Addison, 4 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown. So Minnesota, obviously, they're playing Philadelphia, which I consider to be a better defense than, I also like Tampa Bay's defense too, and I said that last week. So, and Curtis, big shout out to Curtis. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope everything's going well, and much respect going out to you as always, sir. So, looking at this matchup for the Minnesota Vikings once again here on the road at Philadelphia, you got to play Justin Jefferson. I shouldn't have to tell you that. I will tell you that, but I shouldn't have to. Justin Jefferson in this matchup. Alexander Mattison, looking back to Philadelphia from this past week and how they performed here against the run. This is the thing with Philly. Their defense, I feel like last season had some moments where you're like, okay, obviously, they've gotten better. And then there's moments where you feel like, did they? And in this game against the Patriots, they went on the road 25-20. Not really the game that you were anticipating for Philadelphia, and a New England team that seems to not have a straightforward identity. Jalen Hurts threw 1 touchdown, no picks, 22-33, 170 yards. Gainwell, 14 of 54 to lead the team on the ground. They only allowed 76 yards rushing you look at Ramondre Stevenson, Ezekiel Elliott, it was okay. not much. 7 carries, 29 yards, 4.1 yards a carry. Not bad. Ramondre, 12 for 25 was awful. 2.1 yards a carry. And, Ezekiel Elliott also fumbled the ball and lost that fumble. So when you're looking at Philly and Alexander Mattison, I'd probably have Mattison as a low-end 2, high-end 3 running back this week. Justin Jefferson's a 1. Jordan Addison's a good flex for you. I'd have him probably as a wide receiver 4 playing Philadelphia's defense in this matchup. TJ Hawkinson, I got him as a tight end 2 this week. On the other side for Philadelphia in this matchup, Thursday Night Football against Minnesota. And like I said, if you have a question anywhere in the world, go ahead and send it to us on youtube.com, facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com so we can see it in the live feed and answer your question instantaneously. Good morning to my mom. She's the best. So, Jalen Hurts on the other side, play him in this matchup. DeAndre Swift with Kenneth Gainwell not practicing recently here, questionable with a rib injury. DeAndre Swift, I would say, look at putting him out probably as your running back 3. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I believe, are worth the play in this game. And Dallas Goedert I have as a low-end tight end 1. Curtis said, DT, do you think week 1 is a foreshadow of how the rest of the season will go for Detroit's backfield, or do you think Gibbs eventually becomes a primary back? That's a great question, Curtis, and I appreciate that. I think, going into the season, because I had them drafting Jahmyr Gibbs exactly where they drafted him. So I think going into the season, Gibbs was my thought. Montgomery, to me, right now, is part of the mold. I think both, have value as of now, but I have never been 100% sold on Montgomery. So, I think Gibbs is he's still the focus for me, in my opinion. He's still the focus for me and who I believe is going to be the guy in Detroit. But, Montgomery, he was 21 carries of 74 yards this past week in week 1. So, it was not terrible. He was involved, right? But I think, very few teams, if any teams you see this season in the NFL. He was involved, or in recent history in the NFL are using one running back. So, the chances of them using more than one, I think for any team is pretty high. But looking at this specific team for Detroit, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy. I think Montgomery is going to have his moments. And so, I think, as of right now, maybe, flex him out there and see what he can do depending on the matchup. But I think it's important to note that eventually I think one of these guys is going to take over. I don't think that this is going to be a running back by committee. Well, I don't want to say that. I think a lot, like I said, I think a lot of teams are running back by committee. I think Jahmyr Gibbs has the opportunity to become the dominant back. And I would more lean on the side of him becoming the dominant back of this squad. But for now, Montgomery is involved, and I think that you have to keep an eye on it, just like Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. But I think, I think Jahmyr Gibbs is he to me is the bell cow of the future, right? I think David Montgomery is a la Delvin Cook to Breece Hall. He's there, right? And he's involved, but he's not the guy. And I think that's the best way for me to put it, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, then, send me in more questions to kind of dive into a little bit deeper. Curtis said, I think Monty's carries were kind of game script based, pound the rock and try to keep Kansas City off the field. Yeah, I think, when you're going up against a team and you're trying to keep them off the field, you run the ball. And when you do that in like I said, this NFL that we've had over these last few seasons, when you don't have one dominant guy on most teams, you're going to run the rock. If you're going to do it, 40 times a game, 50 times a game, whatever it may be, you're going to do it with more than one. And so, that to me makes sense why they would go more than one in this case. So, I think that's, ultimately how I look at it. David Montgomery is involved. Is David Montgomery going to be the guy for the team? I don't think so. Is he going to be a part of the puzzle? Yeah, I think he's part of the puzzle as of right now. And I think, as long as he's healthy, he'll continue to be part of the puzzle in some way, shape, or form. But I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the one that, fantasy value being out there, that's what I would kind of look to. We got another question here from George. Would you trade Romeo Doubs and Christian Kirk to get Chris Godwin in half PPR? No, I wouldn't trade two wide receivers to get one. And again, well, and it also depends. These two wide receivers, I should say, I wouldn't trade these two to get one. So I would say no to that trade, just because listen, I think people, and again, I talk about this every season. People freak out. And I'm not saying you're freaking out, George. I'm just saying people get a little bit quick on the trigger, is maybe a better way to put it, when we're early on in the season and, somebody doesn't show up and Calvin Ridley scores first. And so people are like, oh my gosh, Calvin Ridley, he's the guy. I got to get rid of Zay Jones. I got to get rid of Christian Kirk. I can't keep these guys because this is going to be Calvin Ridley's team. That's not something that I think, we need to kind of just jump right into here. He said trying to sell high on Dobbs before Watson comes back. And I get that. I understand that. So I think, in that respect and in that world, let me see here. Romeo Doubs and Christian Kirk to get Chris Godwin. My concern about this, though, is that Romeo Doubs is still going to be involved. Remember, every quarterback has their guy. So if Jordan Love is doing well with Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson could come back and he could be Dobbs dominant still. And what other wide receiver is there in Green Bay besides Dobbs and Watson that you really think is going to take over? So I know you want to sell Dobbs high, but at the same time, keeping Dobbs on your roster to me provides value because, once again, every quarterback has their guy. And so there is the argument that Romeo Doubs could have a good relationship with Jordan Love, and he could end up being the guy more than Christian Watson. The other thing is, too, when somebody comes back from an injury, are they going to be 100%? Could they get injured again? So I think with Dobbs, you got to hold right now. And Christian Kirk, I think you got to hold right now on him, too, because I covered the Jacksonville Jaguars on site, on location, and I saw a lot of good come from Christian Kirk this past season. And I think that, what he's done for this team is helpful. And I don't think he's going to get lost in the shuffle of the fact that, yeah, Calvin Ridley's back. But the thing that I think makes Jacksonville so dangerous is that they have Zay Jones and Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley. And they also have a guy that can be a little Swiss Army knife for them in Jamal Agnew. So I would hold on to Christian Kirk. And the other side of it is Chris Godwin. He's gotten injured over the past couple seasons. So that, to me, would be a concern to me as well. You get rid of two for one, and what if he goes down? Now you lose two healthy players for a guy that doesn't always necessarily stay healthy. And I hope that he does. I just would hold off on that. What I was saying when it comes to, and if we had a few more weeks under our belt, we're talking week 4, week 5, then it could be another conversation, George, as far as, how these guys are performing and what the team actually looks like. But I think the early on, let me bring out my players to the front lawn. I always caution people on doing that because I feel like after week 1, okay, this guy did well, this other guy's coming back, I'm nervous, I got to get rid of this guy. Or, this guy didn't perform, this other guy came onto the team in Christian Kirk and Ridley's case. And so people are so quick to say, I got to shed him, I got to get rid of him. Just kind of pump the brakes, give it some time, and see how things go. There could be a quarterback change at some point this season, which I think there will be in Tampa, even if it's temporary. So that could affect Chris Godwin. So I would hold off right now. If you have any other questions, coming in. Make sure you send them in. We appreciate all your questions coming to us anywhere in the country and the world in this Fantasy Football in Focus, proudly presented every single week on Wednesdays from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time by the wonderful team at the Wildcat Sports Pub. We typically go over, so we may be here past 11 as I put our money on we usually are. So make sure you continue to tune in to Fantasy Football in Focus, and feel free to share this to your family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues every single Wednesday, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. So, with that being said, as we continue to look at this matchup here for Thursday Night Football, again, DeAndre Swift, I have him as a running back 3 this week. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, I have them as, obviously ones to put out on your team. Jalen Hurts and Dallas Goedert, I am as a low-end one tight end this week. The next matchup that we have coming up here is going to be Green Bay at Hot Atlanta. So let's go to the Green Bay Packers. We were just talking about them, so perfect timing here. Jordan Love, to me, again, speaking with, and you can go back and watch it, and I'm going to share it as well today so that you can see it. I had a conversation with a former offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach of Syracuse, Tim Lester, who is now a senior analyst for the Green Bay Packers. And being a part of this team, him and I had a conversation, as we have had many over the last decade, and the conversation that we had was really positive about Jordan Love and his footwork and different things that he's been doing right. Well, Jordan Love, the Chicago Bears are not a good team. They haven't been a good team in a minute. But, Jordan Love, in his debut as the true starter of this team, with Aaron Rodgers no longer on the roster, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 15 to 27, 245 yards. So good stuff there. Aaron Jones led the team in receiving and in rushing yards, 86 receiving yards, 41 rushing yards. For those of you that think Aaron Jones is washed up and I got to go find somebody else, he obviously had himself a day. So hopefully y'all didn't give up on him. Romeo Doubs, 2 touchdowns on 4 catches on 5 targets. Really good day. 26 yards, not a ton, but he got into the end zone, which ultimately is big there. In PPR, 4 catches. He led the team in receptions for Green Bay. They really spread the ball out to a bunch of different guys. A.J. Dillon caught 2 passes for 17 yards. He ran the ball 13 times more than anybody else on the team for Green Bay, but he only had 19 yards, 1.5 yards a carry. It was a very, very dismal day for him there. Rashawn Johnson, who comes onto the team as a rookie for the Chicago Bears, drafted out of Texas here, and he was the 4th pick, 115 overall of the 2023 NFL Draft. He scored in his debut on the ground 5 carries, 20 yards, 4 yards a carry, and a touchdown. The only person to score for Chicago against Green Bay, to just make some note of that for something we'll talk about later on. Aaron Jones here, though, he's questionable with a hamstring injury, and obviously the hammy is the thing that we talk about it all the time. I feel like I talk about it weekly. It's that injury that is super nagging when it comes to running backs, and it's sometimes that injury that stays with them for the rest of their career, and I pray to God that that is not the case for Aaron Jones here. I know how it affected Fred Taylor, and me being a huge Fred Taylor fan, having to watch that was tough to see him have to go through something like that. So hopefully that is not going to be the case in this respect. But, if he's nursing this, then A.J. Dillon definitely, to me, is worth the play for you in this one. So I would say, and they're playing Atlanta's defense. So if Aaron Jones is good to go, play Jones and Dillon. If Aaron Jones is not good to go, then obviously play A.J. Dillon in this. Christian Watson, he has his hamstring injury that he's questionable on. Same conversation as what I just talked about. Christian Watson, for me, because of that, kind of just watch it. They're playing Atlanta, so if he is healthy enough to go, then I would put him out there. Romeo Doubs has value once again because of this, and Jaden Reed in a deep team, you might want to flex him out because it's Atlanta's defense. And Luke Musgrave, their tight end, you might want to put him out there if you have 2 tight ends that you can play because of who they're playing. So I would look at doing that as well. Green Bay playing 2 of the worst teams in the country in the first 2 weeks. And I think Atlanta has upside. I don't think that Chicago does. And I say two of the worst teams in the respect of defense, stopping people. Chicago hasn't stopped people in a long time. Atlanta hasn't stopped anybody in a long time, too. I'm speaking defensively, two of the worst teams in the country. So, and I don't mean disrespect by saying that. I'm just stating, looking at fantasy football, if you're playing Chicago or you're playing Atlanta, those are good games to be playing, in my opinion. So I would look to that, and I would say, play a bunch of these guys. So again, watch Watson and Jones on the injury report. I think Dillon and Dobbs have value either way, and they definitely increase their value if the injuries continue for Jones and Watson to hamper them. And Musgrave could be a good play, especially in a 2 tight end opportunity that you might have in your league. On the other side of this matchup, and what did Smitty say? Smitty, thank you for joining. And Smitty, I think you're new to the feed here, so make sure you click subscribe and let us know where you hail from. We always like to give shout-outs. And should you pick up Romeo Dobbs, the best way for me to answer that, Smitty, is for you to tell me who is on your team. So let me see here. So let me know what wide receivers you have and who you are looking, because it could be another position, but who you're looking to drop. That's my best way to answer your question. Whenever somebody says, hey, should I pick somebody up? Should I drop somebody? Well, let me know who you have, because that obviously affects it, is knowing your roster itself. So make sure you shoot that over to me, Smitty, and I'll be happy to answer it. And make sure you click subscribe. On Atlanta's side with Desmond Ridder, that's my guy. And apparently I found out here over these last few days that Desmond Ridder rookies are in hot commodity, his autos. So good to hear that my guy is getting some love in the hobby world. And if you're looking for some Desmond Ridder, or you're looking for anything, make sure that you make your way out to GG Cards and Breaks on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave, open 7 days a week. I just bought one of their Desmond Ridder. I bought their Desmond Ridder rookie auto, so you might want to get out there and see what else they got while you can. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier, I told y'all not to forget about him, and he had 2 touchdowns in week 1. So don't forget about him. I would play him in this matchup. I would also look at playing Bijan. Drake London, I have him as a lower-end wide receiver too. And Kyle Pitts, Kyle Pitts to me is just, I drafted him this year in one of my leagues because I want to believe. He's been underwhelming, but I want to believe. Now, in their victory over the Panthers, 24-10, looking back at this game, Algier had 75 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He also had 3 catches for 19 yards. Pitts had 2 catches for 44 yards to lead the team. He was only targeted 3 times. Bijan was targeted the most by Desmond Ridder 6 times, and he caught all 6 passes, 1 for a touchdown in his rookie debut, 27 yards. So play Bijan, play Algier, play Pitts, and then I would have Drake London as a wide receiver too, in my opinion, in this matchup against Green Bay. A lot of fantasy opportunities here in this matchup as we're talking about. Next one that's coming up here is the Vegas Raiders up against the Buffalo Bills. The Vegas Raiders here, we'll start with them. We always start with the away team. If you have a question, make sure to send it in. The Vegas Raiders, Josh Jacobs is worth the play, and Devontae Adams. Listen, Buffalo gave every opportunity for the Jets to win this game. You want the ball? Here you go. I mean, Josh Allen, 4 turnovers, a fumble, and 3 interceptions to the same guy. 3 interceptions to Jordan Whitehead. Maybe don't throw in his direction. I don't know what to tell you in that matchup, right? The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, he's beat me. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. Okay, you showed me. Oh, I'm going to show. It's like at a certain point, it's just not working out. And they had a terrible game. The Raiders gutted it out. Denver Broncos, maybe it's not a Nate Hackett fault type of thing. I didn't think it was Nate Hackett's fault. I thought the man deserved to have some time out there to be a first-time head coach in the NFL. They didn't give it to him, and we're looking at what we're looking at right now as again, Denver struggles to score offensively. Cortland Sutton got the touchdown. You could say, well, Jerry Jeudy's injured, but there was a lot of things that happened last year. Javonte Williams went down early, and I didn't see a lot of people giving excuses to Nate Hackett, but here we are with Sean Payton, and this team is scoring 16 points. The Raiders winning 17-16. Jacoby Myers, new to the team, who came over from the New England Patriots, who was a good possession receiver, good for PPR, scored his first touchdown as a Raider in the first quarter and started the scoring for both teams. And we also saw Jacoby Myers later on in the game. He had the only 2 touchdowns for the Raiders in this matchup. So I would look at playing Jacoby Myers as, well, you got to look at this too. He has a concussion, so he's questionable. So if he can pass concussion protocol, then put him out there. If he does not, obviously you have to leave him off. But if he can somehow play, which it's hard to play in a week's time, God willing, he can come back quickly. And if and when he does, he is good for you to throw out there for some PPR love as of right now in his debut, showing that he continues to do that. Targeted 10 times by new Vegas quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo, who won in his debut as a Raider. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception for him. 20 of 26. He threw to Jacoby Myers 10 times. He caught 9 of them for 81 yards. Devontae got 9 passes, caught 6 for 66 yards. Josh Jacobs, 3 passes, caught 2 of them that came his way for 23 yards and had 48 yards on the ground. Did not have a touchdown this week, but I would say play Josh Jacobs, play Devontae Adams, watch Jacoby Myers. And then as far as Austin Hooper, he only had 1 catch on 1 target for 20 yards. Not bad, but Hooper might be a sneaky low-end tight end 1 playing a Buffalo Bills team that, their defense is good, but little shaky coming off of week 1, in my opinion. So I like Jacobs, I like Devontae Adams, and if Jacoby Myers could somehow be healthy for this, I like him in this game. If not, just kind of watch him. He might be a grab and stash if somebody had was quick on the trigger to let him go early on here. For the Buffalo Bills on their side of things in fantasy, again, the Buffalo Bills did not have a great debut, and a game that they definitely should have. This is a game where Aaron Rodgers goes down, and they had, and in credit to the Jets defense, the Jets defense was a better offense than the Bills offense in this matchup, and that is not something you like to see because the Bills exited very unceremoniously from last season's playoffs at home in the snow against Cincinnati, where they looked totally out of sync and unprepared, and here they are coming into this season looking like a lot of hype and not a lot to show for it once again. So Josh Allen going up against the Vegas Raiders, I have him as a low-end quarterback 1 in this matchup. I'm a little wary of this. I'm more feeling good about James Cook in this matchup. And, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, hard to keep him off. I have Diggs as a 1 still. I have Gabe Davis as a lower end 2. Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, they both got time out there. Kincaid 4 catches in his debut. I like Kincaid as a tight end 1, Dawson Knox as a 2 this week is how I'm feeling. And, like I said, Diggs worth the play. Gabe Davis worth the flex out. I like James Cook in the matchup as a running back 2. But Josh Allen, I'm concerned. I'm very concerned about Josh Allen. To some people, he's the best quarterback out there in fantasy, and he did not come out and produce. And gosh forbid if you're in a fantasy football league where you get punished for turnovers and you get points taken away for interceptions and whatnot, then Josh Allen is a liability for you right now. So Josh Allen is one of those, like I said, I got him as a lower end 1 here. They are playing at home, which is a good thing, so hopefully things will get better. Dylan, thanks for the question, Dylan. Also, Smitty, send me your roster again because I tried to answer your questions here, and I want to make sure we send it over to you again. Send me your roster to help with the Dobbs comment. And, so make sure you send that over to me, Smitty. Dylan asked a question here. 12 team. And Dylan, make sure that you let us know where you hail from. Smitty, you as well. We always love to shout out places. So, Dylan, send over to us where you hail from. And because we like to, like I said, we like to shout out places and make sure to subscribe while you're here if you haven't subscribed already. Answering Dylan's question. 12 team in full PPR. Let's see what we got here. Dylan's coming to us from Baltimore, Maryland. Shout out Baltimore. Much love over there. I just sold my Lamar Jackson rookie patch auto numbered to 75 with a tricolor patch for $675. So good stuff. Dylan said, just subscribe and liked. We'll tune in a lot more. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much. Let me get to your question here. Very much appreciated, Dylan. Thank you for that. 12 team in full PPR. Let's see what we got here. We have A-Rich and Gino. Okay. Pollard, Cook, Mostert, and Khalil Herbert. Diggs. And let's see who we have here. We got Hollywood, Michael Thomas, and you have Nook here as well. Go ahead and some of these nicknames here, just shoot over to me. If you're talking about D-Hop here, obviously his nickname Nook. It's a very interesting nickname, but just to shout it out here. So yeah, D-Hop. And then let's see else. We got Andrews and Likely. Okay, you were smart. I did that move last week as well. I saw that that Mark Andrews wasn't going to play, so I put him on my IR and I grabbed Isaiah Likely last week. Should I look to sell right now and who? Nobody went off. May have to wait a week. Wide receiver 2, biggest need in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, I've got you Diggs, I would say is your wide receiver 1. DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, give him some time. They're playing the Chargers this week. That might be a little bit of a tough game and a litmus test for you. Hollywood, it's tough because, he doesn't have his quarterback right now. So I would say, yeah, I mean, looking at this team, if you're looking to sell, I mean, A-Rich and Gino, I wouldn't look to sell them. It also depends on what's out there and what's available to you. I like James Cook. I like Tony Pollard. Raheem Mostert had not a bad debut. And he said, yeah, only guys I'm 100% keeping, Diggs, Pollard, and Andrews. Okay, yeah, I mean, fully understand that. It's really what's out there. If you can give me kind of a list of like, hey, these are the guys that are available to me right now, then I could say drop for this, pick up for that. That's my best way to say it to you, because I'm not sold on Michael Thomas. I'm not sold on Hollywood, and I'm not 100% sold on D-Hop. And so, I mean, your running backs, not bad. Your quarterbacks, I think, worth keeping depending on who's out there. And obviously you have Diggs, and I like Andrews. So, depending on what is available to you, then I can give a better assessment to you for that, Dylan. So make sure if you have that. He said, I will after week 2. I don't think anybody has too good of high sell value. Yeah, I would agree. It's not a bad team. It's really not. Gino is your backup. Anthony Richardson, we'll see how he goes. Obviously, I think he's got some upside. He's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. Tony Pollard, James Cook. Yeah, I mean, I like this team. So I would say there is definitely some tradable people. There's some movable commodities is what I would say. And let's see what's out there and let's see how your guys do. Hopefully one of your guys you're willing to part with produces in a way this week that allows you to get some value coming back in that you really want. So if you have any other questions, make sure to send them forward. Happy to help you. And thanks for sending over your team. And I like the fact that you're willing to wait a couple weeks and see what happens, because that's what we talked about earlier, is some people just jump right on the trigger. Dylan said, perfect. Thanks for your analysis. I'll be back again soon. Yeah, man. Happy to help you and happy to have you here on the show. And shout out once again to Baltimore, Maryland. So Las Vegas at Buffalo. So again, yeah, looking at Josh Allen's numbers here, 29 of 41, 236, 3 interceptions to the same player too, which was like even more of an egregious party foul. And he had 1 touchdown in the game. One passing touchdown here. He ran 6 times for 36 yards. I mean, listen, I know they're playing the Raiders, so, I should be able to feel good enough about this. But like I said, Josh Allen's one of those guys right now where he's just making me concerned. Last season he made me concerned at the end of the season, and he's not making me feel better. I honestly feel like this is like the hangover from last season's Cincinnati Bengals playoff game, which was atrocious. So, I mean, how do I feel about Josh Allen right now? Not great. I'll tell you that much. It's not great. So, I mean, yeah, I would. Yeah, yeah, Dylan, I appreciate that because some people totally overreact in the first couple weeks. They want to like drop their whole team and pick up a whole new team if somebody didn't do something. So, yeah, James Cook, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis as a flex, Dalton Kincaid over Dawson Knox at this point, in my opinion. And Josh Allen, he's still a QB1, but he's lower end just because I'm a little concerned. I'm a lot of concerned about how he's been playing. Baltimore at Cincinnati, since we just shouted out Baltimore, this is the next game up on our schedule before we take a fast break here on Fantasy Football in Focus inside a wake-up call for NFL Week 2, 2023-24 season, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, your premier place in Central New York to watch all of your games all week long for the NFL and more, including college football, by going to 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And if you prefer to be at home and watch in your cave, that's totally fine. Call them for takeout and delivery at the Wildcat, 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat. So make sure you get in touch with them today. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you their way. So let's get into this game for the Baltimore Ravens and at Cincinnati. Cincinnati had an awful opening week. They looked terrible. And again, Joe Burrow not being 100%, I said, look out for that. So in this matchup, Lamar Jackson, what did I tell you? And I've told you over and over and over again, even with J.K. Dobbins, and this is why I was leery about drafting him, and I only drafted him in one of my leagues. And I've already, and I put him on my injured reserve. J.K. Dobbins, even when he's healthy, every quarterback has their guy or guys. Lamar Jackson likes Gus Edwards. He just does. And who's the number one running back with J.K. Dobbins out again? Gus Edwards. Old Faithful. And a lot of you were smart enough to pick him up right away when J.K. Dobbins went down on Sunday. And good for you on that. Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham Jr., I feel good about Lamar Jackson. I feel good about Gus the Bus. Sam said, should I trade Jacobs and Williams for Adams? I'm guessing you're talking about Josh Jacobs. I don't know which Williams you're talking about. So make sure you just send that in, Sam. And I'm guessing Devontae Adams for this. So, Sam, make sure you send us over your exact here so I don't misinform on this potential trade. So make sure to send me the names, and then make sure to subscribe while you're here, and let us know where you hail from, because we like to shout out. So as I said before, so make sure you send that over to us, and please send me which Williams you're talking about so I can give you my thoughts on that. But to go back to the Ravens this past week. In this matchup, Ravens coming up at Bengals, how the Ravens produced in their receiving core for this week. I mean, they beat the Texans. I wasn't worried about this game. 25-9 at home. In this matchup, Lamar Jackson led the team in rushing yards, followed by Gus Edwards. I'm not surprised. Lamar Jackson didn't throw a touchdown. He did throw an interception. Zay Flowers led the way in his rookie debut, 9 catches on 10 targets, 78 yards. I told you he's perfect for this offense. He's a wide receiver running back coming from Boston College, where I interviewed and covered him. And I'm a big fan. I think he could be the sleeper of the year in this year's draft and turn out to be the guy that people are drafting really high next season, God willing for him. Odell was second behind Zay Flowers, but it was a giant dip. Zay Flowers caught 9 of 10 targets. Odell caught 2 of 3 targets. Rashad Bateman caught all 3 targets thrown his way, 35 yards. So, I mean, Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham Jr., they have value, but to me, as a wide receiver 3, they're your flex guys. They're not your wide receiver 1 or 2. Zay Flowers is definitely, he's your number 1 flex because he's the true definition of a flex. So really, I look at flexing out these receivers. Zay 1, Rashad 2, Odell 3. But Rashad and Odell kind of tied there for flex. I like Zay above them all. I like Zay as the biggest target right now for Lamar Jackson. And I, said a lot about Zay going into the season. And definitely that came through in week 1. We'll see how it continues, but I'm high on Zay Flowers. I like Gus Edwards in this game as a running back 3 for you because he's the running back 1 for Baltimore. And I like Lamar Jackson. If Mark Andrews is good enough to go, then yes. If not, then Isaiah Likely is likely the guy for you to put out there. I still have him as a tight end 1 because tight ends are hard to come by. There's really only like 4-5 guys maybe that you're like you feel really, really good about to set and keep every week. One of them is Mark Andrews. So Isaiah Likely, I don't mind putting him out there, and I did exactly that this past week. So Sam, make sure you send over to us more information on which Williams that is so that I can help you out in this trade question, and make sure to subscribe and let us know where you come from so we could shout you out. So that's Baltimore side of things. Cincinnati, Joe Burrow is not on the injury report this week, which is a good thing. I think Joe Burrow's got something to prove. I think so. For me, Joe Burrow, yeah, you could play him in this matchup. Joe Mixon as well. Jamar Chase, yes. To go back and look at this very dismal game that they had here in week 1 against the Cleveland Browns, where they lost 24-3, which was absolutely gross. Looking back at them by the numbers, Chris Evans in his rookie debut, he did get involved. 2 rushes for 12 yards. He caught the ball 1 time on 1 target. He lost a yard on the catch, though. And Jamar Chase led the way here. T. Higgins did not have a single catch in the game. Tyler Boyd had 2 on 3 targets. Joe Mixon was targeted 5 times for 3. Jamar Chase targeted the most 9 times, caught 5 of them for 39 yards. So Mixon had 4.3 yards a carry, 13 carries for 56 yards. Him probably the brightest bright spot on the team, and then Jamar Chase in a very, very awful game for the Cincinnati Bengals in this one. So I would say Joe Burrow in this game, yes. Joe Mixon, yes. Jamar Chase, yes. T. Higgins, wide receiver 3. Tyler Boyd, wide receiver 4. And that's what I have for that one. So with that being said, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We will be back inside of Fantasy Football in Focus for NFL Week 2 in the 2023-24 season, proudly presented by the Wildcat, right after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Ave, is your home for your hobby that you love so very much. Head off to GG Cards and Breaks today. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. They are your premier card shop with a personal touch. They care about the people that come through the door. They remember you. They remember what you like. And going the extra mile is what made me want to work with them from the beginning. And it's what I appreciate every single time I get to promote them and speak about them, with singles as well as slabs, packs, and boxes, and every Major League Baseball, NFL, and NBA team on their back wall for you to sift through inserts and rookies and opportunities for you to take home some of your favorite players. It's all there at GG Cards and Breaks, including having some of the new Disney game, the Lorcana cards. Those are there as well, and you can find Pokemon cards. So head off to GG Cards and Breaks today, whether you are a fan and a collector of old nostalgia cards, or if you're looking for those new rookies. They got everything at GG Cards and Breaks, the spot to continue the hobby and to start your hobby in the sports card world. 639 Delmar Place, right off of Teal Ave in Syracuse, New York. GG Cards and Breaks. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we are hanging out inside of Fantasy Football in Focus, NFL Week 2 2023. 2024 season, proudly presented exclusively by the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Your place to watch the games here in Central New York, and our exclusive home for our Central New York fantasy football leagues, the captains on call and the gridiron gurus. Shout out to every single one of you. And I'm going to be shouting out who won in week 1 across all of our leagues at the end of this broadcast, so make sure you stay tuned for that. With that being said, let's jump into our next matchup that we have here, and that matchup is going to be Seattle at Detroit. Detroit coming off of a fantastic win to start off their season. I said that I chose them preseason to win the NFC North, and they started off the season by beating the reigning national champions, albeit without Travis Kelce and some drops going on. But Detroit had their own drops themselves, and a win is a win, and they deserve to get some spect on their name, and I will give that to them. You can't just sit here and go, Kansas City screwed up. It's also the fact that Detroit did what they had to do, because there's a lot of teams that screw up and still lose games, and still, there's a lot of teams that screw up in a game and the other team is not good enough and they still lose. There's games where teams turn the ball over a bunch of times or make a bunch of mistakes and the other team still doesn't find a way to beat them. So in this matchup, let's go to Seattle at Detroit for this. Geno Smith, good to have as a backup on your team. Not the guy I would think to start in this one. Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet. Zach Charbonnet, the rookie on the team. And to see how this is going to kind of work out as the season progresses, I'm a fan of them both. And I covered Kenneth Walker III when he was at Wake Forest. How they balanced this out, Kenneth Walker had 12 carries, Charbonnet had 3. So 12 carries, 64 yards, 5.3 yards a carry, no touchdowns for either one of them. Charbonnet had 3 carries for 11 yards in his debut. And Kenneth Walker was also targeted 5 times in the passing game and caught 4 of those passes, albeit for 3 yards. Still, 4 catches, PPR, gets you some points, depending on where you are. Half a point, 1 point. Like, we get 1 point per catch in ours. So, full PPR, or a full opportunity there at a full point in PPR in the wake-up call leagues. So, I would play Kenneth Walker in this game. Charbonnet, I kind of have him as a grab and stash right now. I don't have him as somebody to put out and lean on to win your fantasy football game at this point. I do like Kenneth Walker in the matchup, and DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett as well. Jackson Smith and Jigba in his debut, 3 catches on 5 targets, 13 yards. DK led the way with 47 yards and a touchdown. Will Dissly had 17 yards. Tyler Lockett had 10 yards in the game. So, not great. And Detroit's defense is pretty good. So I have Tyler Lockett as a flex guy this week. I have DK Metcalf as a low-end wide receiver 1, high-end 2 because of the team he's playing. So what I'm saying is he's still worth the play. It's just kind of, más o menos, as they would say in Spanish. Kenneth Walker III, I have him going up against this team as an RB, a low-end 2, high-end RB3 for you this week. And then to look at the other side for the Detroit Lions, what we were talking about a little bit before in the broadcast when I had a question come in from Curtis. Once again, I appreciate your questions and your comments. Send them over to us. Let us know where you're from, and make sure that you subscribe while you are here. Click like, click subscribe, and send off your questions as from anywhere in the world. Detroit in this game, looking at this, David Montgomery, 21 carries, 74 yards, as I mentioned before, 3.5 yards a carry and a touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, 7 carries, 42 yards in his rookie debut, 6 yards per carry. Josh Reynolds led the way, and Amon-Ra St. Brown after him. Reynolds had 80 yards on 4 catches, 7 targets. Amon-Ra St. Brown had the most targets and most catches for Detroit in week 1 on the road at Kansas City in a 21-20 victory. 6 catches, 9 targets, 71 yards, and a touchdown. Sam Laporta in his rookie debut, 5 catches on 5 targets for 39 yards. Not too shabby. So in this matchup, going up against Seattle, I got Sam Laporta as a low-end mid-range tight end 1. I have Amon-Ra as worth the play for you in this. I still have him as a wide receiver 1. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery are going to be sharing it here. So I have Gibbs as a 2, Montgomery as a 3 at running back for you this week. And I think there's value on both sides here for Detroit and Seattle, and I'm continuing to feel good about Detroit as we move forward. Next game we have up here, the Chargers at the Titans. the Los Angeles Chargers, we always start with the road team first. Austin Eckler doing some good things continuing on here, but he has an ankle injury, so just watch that. Josh Kelly and Isaiah Spiller could get some value in this. I don't think it's tremendous value if we are unable to see Austin Eckler in the game. I don't think this value becomes great because I'm just not sold on them going up against this Tennessee defense, which I don't think always gets the respect that it deserves. So I would say in this matchup for the Chargers, I mean, I like Herbert in the matchup. I like him as a mid-range quarterback one this week. I'm a little bit lower on him this week, playing on the road at Tennessee on the other side of the country almost. Keenan Allen, I do like Keenan Allen in this. Mike Williams, same name as Mike Williams of Syracuse, who passed away. Mike Williams spent 3 seasons at Syracuse. Set the bar really high. Is in the top 10 in a bunch of categories, and went on to be drafted in the 4th round by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a few years ago. And going to the Tampa Bay Bucs, spent 4 seasons with the Bucs. Did a lot of good things there. Was a great fantasy pickup himself in his time with Tampa Bay, and then went on to spend the 2014 season with the Buffalo Bills. At 36 years old, he passed away from an apparent accident on a construction site. Mike Williams, the Syracuse Orange and NFL wide receiver alum, passing away from that construction site accident once again at the age of 36. 3 seasons at Syracuse, holds the program record for consecutive games with a touchdown reception, all time for every wide receiver in the history of Syracuse, which includes the likes of Marvin Harrison and Kevin Johnson and so on and so forth. So that's huge. 10 games in a row with a touchdown reception. Has 133 receptions at Syracuse, ranks 9th on the program's all-time list. He's 8th all-time at Syracuse in total receiving yards with 2,044, and is 3rd in yards per game for a wide receiver all-time at Syracuse with 70.5 yards per game. He went on to be drafted by the Bucs, like I said, in the 4th round in 2010. He played for them for 4 seasons and then went to Buffalo in 2014. He ended his time in the NFL with 223 catches, 3,089 yards, and 26 touchdowns. So, all of that is great, but our prayers and our well wishes to his soul going up to heaven, which I'm sure is already there, to his family, to his parents. You should never have to bury your child, is something we hear all the time, and it's something that I never want to have anybody have to experience. So to Mike in heaven, to him reuniting with his loved ones in heaven, his loved ones here on earth being with the rest of their loved ones and getting comfort and well wishes and kindness and goodness and prayers, and for them all to be with God and together with Mike, even in death. May Mike still be with them and them with Mike. May he never feel that far away, because dying, you destroyed our death, and rising, you restored our life. Jesus Christ, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you, Mike. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So, prayers going out to Mike Williams and to all of his loved ones and God to get him up to heaven safe and sound. I'm sure he's already up there. So much love to you, Mike, and to everyone whose life you affected. God bless to you. And God bless to Kyle McIntosh's son, Syracuse Orange running back alum. His son passed away here within these last couple weeks as well. So we pray the same, that his son is safe and sound in heaven, which I'm sure he is, reunited with his loved ones that have passed on, that Kyle and his wife and the siblings of his son are safe and sound here on earth, and all of his loved ones, and that they're all connected through God, because dying you destroyed our death, and rising you restored our life. Jesus Christ, in Jesus' name, keep them all with God, keep their faith strong, keep their hearts warm, and keep their minds clear. Take the chaos out of their lives, and please help them through everything, and help them to be okay and stay okay. In your most precious name, Jesus. Amen. And may they all be together through you, even in death. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. a very tough week for Syracuse and some of these people that obviously mean so much to us in the Syracuse community. And Kyle is a very good friend of mine, so my continued prayers go out to him. So much love to all of you and to his wife and to their whole family and everybody affected by their son's passing. So a lot of prayers, and if anything, may this remind us that life is precious and it is to be enjoyed, and we need to celebrate life every single day and not waste our time and waste our breath and waste our energy on drama. So God bless to you all. My prayers go to you, and I appreciate everybody watching and listening around the world who, shared with me in this time, because that's obviously far more important than fantasy football. So with that being said, God bless to everyone and to you. So going back to the Chargers-Titans game, Justin Herbert worth the play, Keenan Allen worth the play. I would put Mike Williams as a wide receiver 2, Keenan Allen as a 1 as of right now. Josh Kelly and Isaiah Spiller could be flexed out for you if Austin Eckler isn't able to go. If Eckler is able to go, then he is worth the play. Just look at how they use him in this, because you don't want to get this guy hurt down the line. And Tennessee Titans defense, like I said, is not always respected the way I think it should be. Derrick Henry is worth the play on the other side. Tajay Spears in his debut, I covered Tajay in Tulane and actually got to cover him in his massive performance that he had in the victory at the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic on January 2nd of this year, and a win over Caleb Williams and USC. So taking a look at Tajay Spears in his debut here, was a loss to the Saints at 16-15 on the road, and Tajay carried the ball 3 times for 27 yards, 9 yards a carry. Huge there, and targeted 4 times, caught 1 pass. So he is getting involved, which is good to see. And Derrick Henry got involved a lot in the passing game. 3 targets, 2 catches, 56 yards, 15 carries, 63 yards, 4.2 yards a carry. No running back scored in this game. DeAndre Hopkins, in his debut as a Titan, 7 catches, 13 targets, 65 yards to lead the team. So I would say Tajay is a low-end flex here, a running back 4 in a deep league. In a non-deep league, he's probably not going out there for you right now. Derrick Henry is worth the play. D-Hop, I have him as a wide receiver 2. And Treylon Burks, 2 catches, 3 targets, 18 yards. Still not sold on him. I think Burks is due to have a game where he blows up. I don't know how consistent it's going to be, but I think it's going to happen this season. He'll have a big game at some point. So I have him as a wide receiver 3. I have D-Hop as a wide receiver 2 as of right now. Not a massive amount of fantasy value in this game, but obviously, you look to Derrick Henry above all, and Austin Eckler if he's able to go. You look to him as well. Next game that we have up here on the list is going to be Chicago at Tampa Bay. Chi-Town Girl, they looked awful in their home game against the Green Bay Packers. Khalil Herbert, I have him as a lower-end running back 2. They're playing Tampa, again, a defense that I like. I said that last week. Darnell Mooney got into the end zone for Chicago later on in the game. I like Moons, covered him at Tulane as well. So I have Mooney in this game as a wide receiver 2. I have DJ Moore as a wide receiver 2. I have Cole Kmet as a tight end 2. I have Khalil Herbert as a flex running back 3. And I think that, he could rise up this list. Also, cover Virginia, and he went to the University of Virginia for the Cavs. On the other side of it, for Tampa, the home team, I do think week 3, week 4, watch out, Kyle Trask. I might get an opportunity to start at some point this season. Hopefully it's not because of a Baker injury. I don't want that to happen. Never pray for anything bad to happen to anybody. Not coming from me. Rashad White is worth the play in this game, I would say, as a running back 3. Sean Tucker, shout out. Cuse is in the house. Oh my gosh. I would put him, Sean Tucker, I just picked him up today. I had to put J.K. Dobbins on my injured reserve, and Tuck, who I wanted, was still available, so I went with Tuck. There were some other guys out there that I think, like a Gus Edwards, but if you've been listening to the show and paying attention, over the last couple of years, you would have went and picked up Gus as soon as J.K. went down or close to that. Sean Taylor in his rookie debut after going undrafted from Syracuse is one of the greatest Syracuse backs ever to live, and we got to watch him in real time, which is really cool. One of the best backs ever. You know, you look at Jim Brown, who has passed, Ernie's passed, Floyd has passed, great friend of mine. Joe Morris is here on earth with us. Larry Zonka is here on earth with us. And then you look at Tuck. And, I mean, Tuck, that's crazy that we got to see the leader for yards in a single season in Syracuse football history. And now to see him make the team is a huge thing here after going undrafted. That's a really hard thing to do. 5 carries, 15 yards, 3 yards a carry, and 2 catches on 2 targets, caught both of them for 9 yards. So Tuck, you know, to me, in this game that they have going up against Chicago, this could be a good game for Tuck. I have him as a little low-key flex to put out there. I have Tuck as a running back 3 this week. A running back 3, kind of 3 could be a 4. I don't think he's bad for you to put out there, especially in a deep league. Rashad White, 17 carries, 39 yards, 2.3 yards a carry, was underwhelming. And so Rashad White, who was a rookie on the team last year, we'll see. He caught 2 of his passes thrown his way, 2 catches on 2 targets, 10 yards. So right there with Tuck. So I think Sean Tucker has not only a good opportunity coming into the season, but if Rashad White continues to be all right, then Sean Tucker might get more and more. And we could see an undrafted rookie become the number 1 back in Tampa Bay. So look out for Sean Tucker. I got him as a sneaky flex this week. I got Rashad White as a flex as well, but I got him, you know, close to a position that he probably doesn't want to be in right now, which is the fact that he could lose that job early on here. And if you think it's impossible, folks, look at Ronald Jones II. They drafted him, and he's not even on the team anymore. Mike Evans, 6 catches on 10 targets, leading the way in both, 66 yards, leading the way in that for Tampa in week 1 in the win 20-17 on the road at Minnesota. 1 touchdown. Godwin, 5 catches, 6 targets, 51 yards, no touchdown for him. I think they're both worth the play in this game. They're playing the Bears. And Cade Otton, you know, it is the Bears. He was targeted 3 times, 2 catches. I have him as a tight end too, but could be your option if you got some guys with injuries. Kansas City at Jacksonville. This is a premier game. This game, in my opinion, should be on Sunday Night Football, but we got it at 1 o'clock, or at least be at 4 o'clock where there's less games. It's at 1 o'clock. Typically, any Jacksonville Sunday game for many years, in my now 13 years of covering the team, a majority of the time on site, on location, they are the 1 o'clock Sunday game typically. Pat Mahomes is worth the play in this game. Isaiah Pacheco, this was the year that I drafted him. I waited a couple years to monitor and kind of watch and see what he does. In the loss to Detroit 21-20, Isaiah Pacheco had 8 carries for 23 yards, 2.9 yards a carry. He caught 4 passes that were thrown to him. All 4 he caught, 31 yards. So Rashee Rice, by the way, who I covered in college out of SMU, in his rookie debut for Kansas City, they talk about all the receivers not catching the ball. He caught 3 out of the 5 balls thrown his way, one of them being a touchdown in his rookie debut, 29 yards. So shout out to Rashee Rice. He's a guy that you could grab and stash on your team and be one of the smart people that picked up Rashee Rice before anybody knew about him. So look to that. He could get very involved in this game. I think Rashee Rice is a sneaky flex this week as a wide receiver 3 or 4 for you. I think Sky Moore is a wide receiver 3 this week. I'm not sold on Valdez-Scantling. And Tony I have as a low-end 2, high-end 3. Probably a low-end 2 in a deep league, a 3 to me in most leagues. Travis Kelce, if he's able to go, he's questionable with a knee injury. Just monitor that. But Pat Mahomes is the one I feel the best about. And Rashee Rice, I feel good about him. And I feel pretty good about Sky Moore as well, but neither one of them is a wide receiver 1 or 2. In Jacksonville at home for this game, Jacksonville had to play Kansas City twice on the road last season, once in the regular season and once in the playoffs. When they played them the second time around, they played them better, which is always what you want to see, is playing a team better the second time around, and the stakes were higher, and they were a mistake or 2 away from potentially beating Kansas City in the playoffs. Trevor Lawrence in this game, I still like him as a QB1, maybe as a mid-range, lower-end QB1. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say mid-range. I do like Trevor Lawrence in this. He's one of those guys that I believe could play for you every week but the bye week. And I drafted him in 3 out of 4 of my leagues to do that. Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby. I like Tank as a running back 3, 4 this week. Probably a 4. I like Etienne as running back low-end 1, high-end 2 this week. I like Calvin Ridley. I like Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. I think you can put Zay or Christian Kirk as a 2 or a 3 on your... Well, I would probably put Christian Kirk and Zay Jones as a 3 on your team this week. Ridley as a 2. I would have him there. We'll see how he continues to perform. Evan Engram, I have him as a lower-end 1, high-end 2 for your team this week in this matchup. Next game up, we have Indianapolis at the Houston Colts at the Texans. Let's take a look at the Colts first, a team that made the Jaguars have to work for it later on in the game. So shout out to them and credit to them in Anthony Richardson's debut. So we take a look at this. 31-21 in favor of the Jaguars won this game in Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson in his debut as a rookie, 24-37, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 223 yards. Led the team on the ground without Jonathan Taylor. 10 carries, 40 yards, 4 yards a carry, 1 touchdown. Deion Jackson got involved, 13 carries for 14 yards, was awful, 1.1 yards a carry. Jake Funk, 2 carries for 10 yards, 5 yards a carry. And Evan Hull, 1 carry for 1 yard. Michael Pittman, who I can't believe people were letting fall down the draft board. Anthony Richardson's got to throw to somebody, and I think Michael Pittman's talented. 8 catches on 11 targets, led the team in both, led the team as the only receiver with a touchdown, and led the team with 97 yards overall receiving in the game. Kylan Granson was right behind him, 4 catches for 39 yards on 6 targets. Kylan Granson comes to the team as a rookie out of not a rookie. He's out of SMU, drafted in 2021. Round 4, picked 127 by Indy. He was the second leading player here on the team, and he's the tight end, leading in receiving yards, tight end, 39 yards. Josh Downs, then Drew Ogilvy, then Deion Jackson, Jake Funk, so on and so forth. Deion caught 5 passes on 6 targets for 14 yards, so not bad there. For Indy in this game at Houston, Anthony Richardson, he's questionable with a knee injury, so just watch that. Could be Gardner Minshew. Zach Moss is questionable with a forearm injury. Deion Jackson's playing Houston, so he's a sneaky flex to me as a running back 3 or a running back 4. I do like Michael Pittman Jr. He's playing Houston, so I have him as a wide receiver 2 because of the quarterback situation. Kylan Granson, tight end 2, but could be another sneaky player for you to put out there. Could be a tight end 1, depending on the situation. If Anthony Richardson is good to go, I'd probably put him as a sneaky tight end 1. I like Indy's defense because they're playing Houston. Not that they have a defense that I would be huge on. I love Zaire Franklin, Syracuse alum, drafted in the 7th round and made it on the team and is now a captain. Am I surprised? Absolutely not. Why? Because I watched him play at Syracuse and I knew his value. So I'm happy for him and think that there's a lot of great things to come for Zaire Franklin continuing on here. Hopefully a nice big contract to come his way as well. For the Houston Texans, Dameon Pierce is worth the play. Dalton Schultz led the tight ends in snaps in the game. Maybe a Dalton Schultz tight end 2. He's probably in a 2 tight end situation for you. Really, it's Dameon Pierce is the only guy that I would play for the Houston Texans, copy and paste from last year. San Francisco at the Rams. This game is supposed to be a good game, but it's really not. It's supposed to be a good game going into last season. The Rams coming off of a Super Bowl berth and San Francisco and everything they did. And you're thinking in your head, wow, these are 2 good teams. These teams have both been to the Super Bowl in recent history. Yeah, now San Francisco is good, but the Rams are just, rather pitiful. I think they have fantasy value, but, looking at this, by the way, Brandon Allen, the 3rd quarterback for San Fran coming from Jacksonville. I never thought they should have gotten rid of him. He had a really nice preseason a couple years ago. Sam Darnold's there, though. But they got some trade value, right, if they want to give somebody to the Jets and get something back. I like Brock Purdy in this game. So Brock Purdy, he's playing the Rams defense. So I got Brock Purdy as a quarterback 1 in this week's matchup. Christian McCaffrey, I like Christian McCaffrey. Debo, I like Debo. Brandon Ayuk got involved. George Kittle, he's healthy to start a season. God bless. Hopefully that continues to stay all the way through the season. I like them all in this game. On the other side of it, for the Los Angeles Rammy Bam Bams, Matty Stafford, I mean, this is a guy who, he's a Super Bowl champion a couple years ago. And now we're sitting here like, people are so low on Matt Stafford. He didn't get drafted in a ton of drafts. He didn't really get drafted in my drafts. And he started off the season 24-38, 334, no touchdowns, no picks. Kyron Williams out of Notre Dame, I'm holding on to his rookie cards. I might be starting to send those out on eBay. 15 carries, 52 yards, 3.5 a carry, led the team with 2 touchdowns. Cam Akers, 22 carries for 29 yards, was abysmal. 1.3 yards a carry, but he did have a touchdown. Tutu Atwell, he led the team in receiving yards. Get it. He was drafted in 2021. Round 2, I covered him from Louisville, wide receiver, pick 57 overall in 2021. And Puka Nacua, drafted out of BYU in the 5th round, 177 overall here in 2023. Puka Nacua, and he's a guy, number 17 for the Rams to look out for. They both had 119 yards, 6 catches on 8 targets. Puka was targeted 15 times by Matt Stafford in his rookie debut. Caught 10 of them, 119 yards. Neither one of them had a touchdown. But, you're playing the Niners defense. I like the Niners defense in this game. I think Puka could be a flex wide receiver 3. I think Tutu Atwell, a wide receiver 3 for you. Higbee playing up against the Niners. I'd have him as a tight end 1, but a mid to low range tight end 1. I'd probably say mid-range tight end 1 for you this week for the Rams. Kyron Williams is a good running back 3. Cam Akers, I have him as a running back 3 as well. He's playing the San Francisco 49ers, so just watch out for that. We're going to take another step aside for a fast break here inside a Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Fantasy Football in Focus, NFL, Week 2 of the 2023-24 season. If you have a question, send it in to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt to this specific video, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt to this video, or to our live internet radio, wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. We'll take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call, and we'll be back for Fantasy Football in Focus, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub, right after this. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and under promise, over deliver, as we've been here with you now passing 11:30 this morning in our Fantasy Football in Focus special that we do weekly, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub. This week, NFL Week 2 of the 2023-24 season. If you have a question, send it to us about your specific teams on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. If you're listening to this video on recording, then you can feel free to respond directly to this video, and I will answer your questions as long as you respond directly to the video so that I can see it, because this video airing live now will be available to you obviously today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday for NFL Week 2 for you to be able to ask your questions. So you can send your friends, family, coworkers, and colleagues over to us to ask a question after the fact. Just make sure you respond to this specific video on YouTube and Facebook, both.com/wakeupcalldt. The next matchup that we have, the Giants, which were abysmal, up against the Arizona Cardinals, which came into the season with not a lot of high hopes here. I don't know what is going on. I mean, Daniel Jones is healthy. Saquon Barkley was healthy. I mean, obviously your left tackle, Andrew Thomas, having an injury, and Matt Pert behind him also having an undisclosed issue going on here, both at left tackle. That's something that can affect you. We know that we know that the offensive line affected the Giants and would affect any team in a really negative way when they don't perform that well. They lost 40-0 at home to start the season. Daniel Jones 15-28, 104, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns. Tyrod Taylor 2 of 2 for 6 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Saquon 12 carries, 51 yards, 4.3 yards a carry. Daniel Jones 13 keepers for 43 yards, 3.3 yards a carry. Darren Waller in his debut as a Giants tight end after spending his whole career with the Raiders, 3 catches on 5 targets, led the team in both, and 36 yards, led the team as well. Darius Slayton also had 3 catches on 5 targets, 15 yards for him. Isaiah Hodges had 1 catch on 3 targets. Lawrence Kager, 2 catches on 2 targets. Saquon caught 3 of 4 balls thrown his way for 12 yards. Paris Campbell caught 1 of the 4 thrown his way for 2 yards. Sterling Shepard had 1 target, didn't catch anything. I mean, this was an awful way to start the season. And I'm sure Vegas is taking a lot of people's money right now that think the Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl. And, we'll see. And here's the interesting thing. Dallas is getting a crack at both New York teams that play at MetLife, the New York Giants and the New York Jets. They had the Giants on the road. Now they have the Jets at home in the first 2 weeks of the season. And we saw what they did to the Giants. We'll see how this game goes against the Jets. And obviously, I do all of my pick'ems for the week. I pick my college football and NFL games with Papa Joe every single week, Thursday, between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So listen tomorrow for my picks for all of these NFL games, as well as the college football games that we circle for the week. Giants at Arizona. I mean, I want to tell you to play Saquon. I don't have faith in a lot of things I don't have a lot of positive feelings about Arizona at all. And, I would typically come into this game with a bunch of Giants to play up against Arizona because I'm not sold on really anything that Arizona's got going on at the moment. But they had such a terrible game that I'm sitting here with myself today going, yeah, I don't feel great about anybody. I mean, Saquon, I guess, and Darren Waller, if you want to put them out there for fantasy. I got Waller as a tight end 1, not in the top 5, but I do think he's a good tight end, so I have him there. Saquon I have as your running back 2 this week. I want to tell you the Giants defense, but they were awful against Dallas. I mean, Arizona's they don't have a lot to write home about, but I guess I would say Saquon and Darren Waller. As far as the Arizona Cardinals, Josh Dobbs is their quarterback right now. Clayton Tune, who I covered in college at Houston. God bless to Josh Dobbs, who gets to be a starter now. So a lot of good stuff here. He'll get another start coming out. This one, they just lost to the Washington Redskins in what I thought was going to be the worst game of the week, but that ended up being the Giants play up against Dallas in Sunday Night Football. 20-16, Washington beat Arizona. Arizona was on the road. James Conner, 14 carries for 62 yards, 4.4 yards a carry. Hollywood had a carry for 29 yards. Rondell led the team with 33 yards. He had 3 catches on 3 targets. Hollywood had 3 catches on 5 targets, 28 yards. Tight end Trey McBride, who they picked up last year, 2 catches on 2 targets for 23 yards. Zach Ertz led the team with 10 targets by Josh Dobbs, 6 catches, only 21 yards, but PPR-wise, every quarterback has their guy. So in this game, I would look at James Conner as a running back 3. I would look at a Hollywood, Brown, and Rondell Moore as... I would look at probably both flex wide receivers. I mean, they're playing the Giants defense, but it's still, I mean, this Arizona team, I'm still not sold on it. So I'd say Rondell Moore, wide receiver 3, Hollywood, Brown, I would say wide receiver 3. Zach Ertz, I would have as a little sneaky play here for you because he's going up against the Giants, and we know how he feels about the Giants being a Philadelphia Eagle for so long. So I would say that Ertz is tight end 2, low end 1 tight end. I would potentially look to start him because of the matchup this week. And Arizona's playing at home. So I would say Zach Ertz could be one of your sneaky plays this week that could pay off dividends for you. Not a lot of... I feel better about Arizona than I do about the Giants in this game, but Darren Waller and Saquon Barkley, like I said before. The Jets are traveling after their victory, which is big in part to all 3 phases of the game working together and this team just gutting it out and deciding they're going to win. Shout out to special teams and defense, and because I know offense always gets a shout out, we got to give some love over here. Aaron Rodgers, Achilles on injured reserve. God bless him on a speedy recovery, and hopefully this doesn't end his NFL career. So a God bless to him for that. In this game, Breece Hall is worth a play. Delvin Cook, running back 3. Breece Hall, I have him as running back 2, but I like him in this game. I like Garrett Wilson in this game as well. And on the other side, and I think, in a deep league, Lazard or Randall Cobb, maybe, or Xavier Gibson in a really deep league, you can maybe look at putting them as wide receiver 4s. Maybe Lazard as a wide receiver 3. But I feel the best about Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson in this matchup. Delvin Cook as a running back 3. Lazard I don't feel great about in this game. And Randall Cobb, I feel a little bit better about him than Allen Lazard. And then Xavier Gibson for the sheer value. I mean, he was the guy that returned the punt in overtime to win the game. Going away. So Xavier Gibson, he could be like a wide receiver 4 or 5 for you this week, but just a name that I want to throw out there to you. Dallas Cowboys on their side at home in this matchup. I'm not. I got Dak as a quarterback too because of the defense of the Jets. So I'm gonna say the Jets defense isn't a bad play this week. I like Tony Pollard in this game. I like CeeDee Lamb in this game. And that's it. But I think the Jets definitely have some fire. And they're a team to watch. I think they got some fire in their belly. So they're a team to watch out for. I think Dallas can win this game. But, like I said, I do like some stuff with the Jets. I like Sauce Whitehead coming off of a great game. Defense, and I think that Zerline is worth a play in this game up against the Cowboys. I think the Jets definitely have some fantasy value, and I think the Jets definitely have some fight in them this season. Dallas, CD, Tony Pollard, yeah. Dak Prescott, I'm kind of iffy because of who they're playing this week defensively. Washington at Denver. The Skins able to get the win over the Cardinals at home. Now they're playing on the road. Sam Howell, I told you he would start at some point last season, toward the end of the season, and not be surprised. And here we are seeing him again. So we got Sam Howell there in this matchup against Denver. I think Sam Howell, you still keep him off of your list here. Hopefully you're not relying on the Washington quarterbacks to win your fantasy league this season. 20-16, like I said, they won at home. Looking back on it, Howell was 19 of 31, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 202 yards, 2 carries, 11 yards for him, 1 touchdown, quarterback keeper. Brian Robinson Jr., 19 carries, 59 yards in the home opener win and season opener for Washington, 3.1 yards a carry, no touchdowns for him on the ground. Antonio Gibson, only 3 carries for 9 yards, 3 yards a carry. Gibson caught 1 pass. There was only 1 thrown his way. And Brian Robinson Jr. caught 1 of the 2 thrown his way. Curtis Samuel led the team with 5 catches on 5 targets, 54 yards. Logan Thomas, their tight end, 8 targets, 4 catches, 43 yards. Jahan Dotson, 5 catches, 7 targets, 40 yards. Terry McLaurin targeted 4 times, caught 2 for 31 yards. And I feel like they should have done a heck of a lot better against Arizona in that matchup. So, Washington at Denver, this is another game that could end up 16-17, 20-16 again. Brian Robinson Jr., I have him as a running back 3. Terry McLaurin, I have as a wide receiver 2, although I really don't like how he played. I have Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel as wide receiver 3s. I have Logan Thomas as a mid-range tight end 1. And for the Denver Broncos, looking back on their week this past week, again scoring 16 points and looking very much like last year, they lose 17-16 at home. I would say, Javonte Williams, he had 13 carries, 52 yards, 4 yards a carry, not bad. Russell Wilson, 27-34, 177, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Looked more like himself. Samaje Perine, he had 8 carries, 41 yards, 5.1 yards a carry, and he led the team in receiving yards, 37, 4 targets, 4 catches, caught everything thrown his way. Adam Trotman, the tight end, 5 catches on 5 targets for 34 yards. Cortland Sutton, 5 targets, 4 catches, a touchdown, 32 yards. The other touchdown went to Lil Jordan Humphrey, which, by the way, I love his name. Lil Jordan Humphrey in his 4th season out of South Lake, Texas. And so, he's had to step up here with some injuries going on as well. Brandon Johnson caught 2 of the 3 balls thrown his way. UCF in his 2nd season, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. For Denver in this one, I like Javonte Williams, and I like Cortland Sutton as a wide receiver 2. Adam Trotman as a tight end 2, I would say, in this game. And that brings us to our Sunday and Monday night, which will be coming up right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of Fantasy Football in Focus, proudly presented exclusively by the Wildcat Sports Pub, NFL Week 2 2023-24 season. For your questions and your comments and thoughts, make sure you send them over to us here during the broadcast. And if you're watching this on recording, then make sure that you send your questions directly to this video on Facebook and YouTube.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, so I can answer your questions. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And then them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life. This is Fantasy Football in Focus, coming to you every single Wednesday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time and run until we're done. Under promise, over deliver. NFL Week 2 of the 2023-24 season is what we're talking about right now. In order from top all the way down to the bottom of that list, that's the games that we're doing. So wherever you're listening into the show, if you say, okay, did Dan talk about the Bengals game yet? Well, if we're talking about the Raiders and the Bills right now, you know it's coming up next. If we're talking about Indy and Houston, you know you got to rewind here a little bit. Proudly presented by the wonderful team at the Wildcat Sports Pub, led by Danny Tome. And you could go out and see them 7 days a week, including for every NFL game all season long on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. And for takeout and delivery, you can call 315-487-2222. That's 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat Sports Pub. Make sure you get out to them today. Sunday Night Football, we're going to have the Miami Dolphins and the New England Patriots. So, looking back at this week, the Dolphins had a really close contest, a really good game against the Chargers, a fun game to watch here. Won the game on the road, and it's hard to win for an East Coast team on the West Coast. Won the game on the road here, 36-34. And I said, if Tua stays healthy this season, it's a playoff team. I said that. They could win the division. So Tua, a 28-45, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 466 yards. Highest I've seen of any quarterback this week as we're talking about all this stuff. Raheem Mostert had the only rushing touchdown for Miami. 10 carries, 37 yards, 3.7 yards per carry. And Eric Azukanma had 2 catches for 17 yards, 2 carries for 17 yards, 8.5 yards a carry. Salvan Ahmed, 3 carries for 11 yards. Tua had 5 keepers for 5 yards total. Tyreek Hill, Cheetah, led the team with 15 targets, led the team with 11 catches, led the team with 215 yards, and had 2 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle was behind him with 5 targets, a third less targets than Tyreek Hill from Tua. 4 catches on 5 targets, 78 yards. Durham Smythe, their tight end, had, and with Mike Gesicki now gone, 7 targets, caught 3 for 44 yards to be third behind Hill and Waddle respectively. Braxton Berrios, who plays for Miami and played for Miami in college, and I covered him in college, 3 catches on 5 targets, 42 yards. River Crawcraft, one of my favorite names in the NFL. River Crawcraft, 5 catches on 3 targets, got a touchdown in this game. River Crawcraft coming to us in his 5th season out of Washington State, the 6-foot wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins. And Miami, he is, if you want to check him out, he is number 85 out there. River Crawcraft, really cool here. Really cool here is what I meant. Very, very awesome. Tua did fumble twice, and he lost one and recovered one. So something to just pay attention to. But for the Miami Dolphins in this matchup, going back to it, Sunday Night Football, to me, they're playing the Patriots. This is a game that could be like really close and annoying, like, 16-20 with, in the third quarter or something like that. But I like Tua in this game. I do. I know he's on the road, but I do like Tua. Raheem Mostert, I have him as a running back 3. Tyreek Hill is a wide receiver 1. Jalen Waddle as a lower end wide receiver 1. Durham Smythe as a tight end 2 in this matchup. And I would say, those are the guys that I'm looking at for Miami. I feel good about Miami. Like I said, as long as Tua stays healthy, God willing, please let everybody stay healthy, including Tua. Tua, to me, can get this team into the playoffs. So I like Tua. I like Mostert as, in your 3 deep for running backs. Tyreek Hill, obviously. Jalen